The third is I would like to appoint a ad hoc superintendent search committee. The logic behind that, the last time we did a superintendent search, it took over 7 months to make a decision on that. So there is a lot of work that needs to happen for the newly elected board and the board members that are staying on the board to accomplish this. So what I would like to do is like to appoint a committee where they can start the process of seeing what needs to be done. For example, are we going to hire a search firm? Which search firm? There's 1,000 of them out there. So the research needs to start looking at that. So this way, when the new board gets seated, that they can hit the ground running out there. So the process can start. We have to have a full-time superintendent by July 1. So so that's something that we just can't keep postponing it. So the committee would meet and start to do the research. I don't think this board will take any action on anything until they're seated, but this is the way at least the work can start to happen out there. And so the three individuals that I would like to appoint is Sam Palazzo, Tim Lutston, and Pasquale Biondo. Anyone have any questions?
This is different than the last search that we did, in which we as a board worked together in reaching out to the possible search firms, and then we as a board discussed it and then brought it to a board meeting. Why are you choosing to go a different route this time?
I think the community has stated that they want a bigger role inside this plan, and so I thought by reaching out to someone in the community like Sam Palazzo, who's a great guy and his heart's in the right place, and getting two board members perhaps that are not running out there to at least start the research. If this committee of three could all agree and saying, hey, you guys need to hire ABC search company, have them come back to the board and have them come back, and then we could make that decision. But just to keep to keep everyone involved, because there's a petition going on saying not to do it. And so this is a way to include, and if they come to an agreement, if they, for example, they say we're going to pick ISAB because they're the cheapest and the best for a search, they could come back to us and they could present to us, and we can have them come in, and then we could make that decision. But I think that someone needs to start the process, and having just 2 months, because if they get sworn in the end of April, they will only have 2 months. And so it's not enough time. And so that's where someone needs to start doing that work. And so or they don't have to do it. They can wait until May 1st. That's fine too. But someone needs to start doing it. And so I think that some work needs to be done. This way, parameters could be set. For example, do they want to involve the parent organizations? How they're going to involve the teachers union? How are they going to invite regular stakeholders? These are all questions that they need to kind of come up with to be able to hit the ground running when they come on. I'm sure that if the majority of this board says no, sir, well, we want to do it, we could talk about it, and this is a place that we could do it. We could talk about it out there. But in my opinion, I think there needs to be a committee, and that committee needs to start doing that work. So at least some work is being done versus none.
The only concern that I have is that I believe it was Pasquale would be the only one who has been through this process before, and having somebody else who was familiar with it. But far be it from me. I mean,
what I would suggest, if that committee has any questions, or if they want to, tap into yourself, for example, that you've done this twice or once.
Twice. Well, it was
1.5.
1.5.
Right. And so, and with Mike or myself or whoever, I mean, there's a lot of resources. The ISAB is a great resource.
Delegate, Berry Hill.
There's a lot of great resources, but I felt that someone needs to start doing something. And so you don't want to be overwhelmed to say, hey, we have 2 months to hire someone, and it's not going to happen. And so that's where that is out there. So then we're all in agreement. We will appoint Sam Palazzo, Tim Lutston, and Pasquale Biondo to the ad hoc superintendent search committee. I would also urge this committee to look outside the box. And what do I mean by that? There's new legislation that passed last year, I believe, where it allows small districts like ours to share superintendents. And so there's a great deal of smaller school districts around us, for example, like Ridgewood. If there is an opportunity, perhaps, that this committee should go talk to someone the superintendent at Ridgewood perhaps, or the superintendent at Union Ridge or Penoy or Schiller Park. It doesn't matter. As long as there's an agreement, the law allows that a superintendent could serve 2 districts. So I think we owe it to this community also to explore that option. This way we could save money perhaps, and they could save money, and this way we could start looking at consolidation as a more of a viable option out there. And so this could be also where you could look to do an interim for a year or 6 months or whatever it is. This way this search is not rushed. When I say it took 7 to 8 months, it really took 7 to 8 months. It's not, the last time Ridgewood did their search, they went through all their candidates. They didn't like the pool. They went back to the pool and they hired within. So those are just options that they went through. And so we have to keep options open. We have to consider consolidation or sharing a superintendent. This way we try to keep costs down. We'll move right to, does anyone else want to add anything to that? Thank you. Board comments.
Yes. This is mainly for the community. Over the past couple weeks since the information between the contracts that were renewed and the information with Dr. O'Malley, there's been a strong voice out in the public, especially to board members. I can say that I can't move out of my house without somebody talking to me about it. But I want the public to remember that there is privacy, FERPA laws, and protection within the contracts. So if the public does want the board to know about issues going on within the school or within school employees, the chain of command has to be followed. It has to come up through the principals, through the superintendents to get to the board. This is protected by law and by regulations, and we have no way to know what the public is saying on the street. If there is no record of it, it does not get here. And there's been a lot of shocked faces when somebody comes up and says something to me and I say, I don't know what you're talking about, but that's what that protection's there for. Same as the beginning of the meeting tonight. The names have to stay out of it. We don't get students' names, and if stuff doesn't go up through a chain of command all the way through with any issues, it does not get to this board. And then the board is asked to make decisions based on hearsay. For example, at least 10 comments I've gotten in the past 2 weeks pertaining to one of the 2 schools were from parents that don't even have kids in that school. Is it believable? Is it not? There's no documentation of it. And it's very hard to put any board member in that position when there's no documentation. We can't go off of a rumor. If you don't have a kid in that school, these are big decisions, and we can't just go off of a rumor on the street. So I'm asking everybody, if you hear anything, if you know anything, if you have any problems within the district, please follow the chain of command so we can get that information.
Thank you. Any other board comments? Great, thank you. Discussion to approve the consent agenda except for items C and D.
I will motion.
I will second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lutzton?
Yes.
Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mr. Edisavich?
Yes.
Mrs. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffel?
Yes.
Mr. Bellafiore?
Yes.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Moving to C, discussion. Motion to approve the leave of absence request for Emmy Kingley and social worker Lee School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bellafiore?
Yes.
Mrs. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Lutzton?
Abstain.
Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mr. Edisavich?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffel?
Yes.
Motion to approve the leave of absence request from Emily Kamey and social worker Lee School for the 2019-2020 school year. Discussion. Motion to approve the leave of absence request for Meg Fitzgerald, 3rd grade Lee School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mr. Bellafiore?
Yes.
Mrs. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Lutzton?
Abstain.
Mr. Edisavich?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffel?
Yes.
Motion to approve the leave of absence request from Meg Fitzgerald, 3rd grade Lee School for 2019-2020 school year. Discussion. Need a motion to adjourn closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, dismissal of specific employees, possible litigation, and collective negotiation matters.
Motion. I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo?
Yes.
Mr. Lutston?
Yes.
Mr. Stoffel?
Yes.
Mrs. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Bellafiore?
Yes.
Mr. Adisivich?
Yes. Motion approved to go into closed session at 7:32. We'll take a 5-minute break to meet in the lounge.